What is going on, Sports Wars? We're here and we're live. I don't know if we're actually live
Are we?
yet.
I don't know if we are.
Processing. Boom. All right. We should officially be live now. I just saw it click over on the YouTube side. We are live for Monday evening quarterback, one of the last ones of the year. Obviously, not nearly as many games to go over as we have normally during the season, but we did have some interesting games go down yesterday. The wild card round almost complete. One more game left to be played, and that is tonight between the Minnesota Vikings and the Los Angeles Rams. It will not be in Minnesota. It will not be in Los Angeles. Instead, it'll be in Arizona. All that hubbub about winning your division to host a playoff game, all the complaining from, the Vikings fan base, and kind of understandably going 14-3, having to go on the road for a playoff game. Doesn't matter. It's a neutral field.
It's happened before, man.
Neutral field. So it is what it is. What do you think of the idea that a team goes 14-3 and has to, go on the road? Do you think they should put any type of semblance of thought into changing the rules at all?
I don't think so, man. That's football. That's football. Your job is to win your division. And it just so happened that the Lions and the Vikings were both really good this year and both had really good records. So that's just how it is. That's football. I don't think that a division winner should be punished just because the division wasn't as competitive or the record doesn't, reflect the fact that you won the division. You won the division, even if you're 9-7, you win the division. That's football, man. We've seen it happen before where the Seattle Seahawks, they hosted the Saints, I believe, and the Saints had a better record than the Seahawks. But guess what? The Saints went into Seattle, and then they lost.
Yeah, and, it's something that we've never seen this before, primarily because we've never had 17-game season, so we've never had a 14-win team have to go on the road, right? That's right. Part of it, the fact that we have an extra game. But, it's just one of those things. Oh, look at this thing that's never happened before. We should change the rule because of this. Well, let's hold on. Things change. Things are different. A couple years from now, you're going to have an NFC West that's really fucking good, an NFC North that's really down. These things happen in the same way that when people talk about restructuring NBA Eastern and Western conferences because this disparity, that disparity, things change. You know what I mean? It all fucking evens out. And I don't have any problems. I think they should leave it the way that they are. But yeah, obviously NFC North really fucking good this year with the Lions, the Vikings, and the Packers. Packers didn't work out too well for them having to play the Eagles. Man, oh man, I bet they wish they would have had that 6th seed. Man, oh man, I bet they would have beat the Chicago Bears. Man, oh man, I wish they weren't wishing they backed into the playoffs like the fucking losers that they are because they looked like absolute shit yesterday. It's not even like the Eagles looked very good, quite frankly. Especially the Eagles offense did not look all that great. They weren't forced to do a lot. The Packers kept turning the ball over, and certainly injuries are a factor in these games. And the Packers were already a little banged up going into it, got more banged up throughout the course of the game. Yep. But we'll get to that. We'll get to those games yesterday. Chris Curran, I have one word, fuck. I bet, man. Were you at the game, Chris? Because the Buccaneers shot themselves in the foot. That's the reality. A couple big miscues on snaps, a miscue on a snap on a 3rd and inches that would have completely changed the course of that game. That turnover right in the shadow of the Commanders' end zone, they shot themselves in the foot. The Cardiac Commanders continued to find ways to win games, so credit to them. But the Buccaneers, some big mistakes for them that led to that happening.
Yep. Stephen
De Leon for 2. Notre Dame rules all. Hashtag Bills Mafia. Hashtag shout out West Texas.
Cool.
Bills were on fire yesterday, certainly.
Yes, they were.
Morgan, member for a month. Ryan, Joy Taylor or watch Beardo straighten bananas?
That's fucking gay, dude.
Obviously, Joy Taylor.
That's horrible.
If that's the question, right? If that's what you're giving me. That's what you're giving me. Swag Cuddy says Baker blew that game. Look, there was clearly a miscommunication on a snap on 3rd and inches down in the goal. Let's talk about that game first. We might as well. We might as well talk about that game first. Let's Let's pull this up and get a good idea of what the playoff bracket looks like now. The AFC is set after the Texans' victory over the Chargers. The Chargers looked absolutely fucking pathetic. Multiple turnovers from Justin Herbert, a fumble return for a touchdown by the Texans at one point. Texans just stomped all over the Chargers. Looked really bad, but they are moving on to face the Chiefs. Now, I don't know if you've seen a Texans-Chiefs playoff matchup since Deshaun. Have they played since Deshaun Watson went up like 21 or 24 to nothing against them?
I
And
don't think so.
roaring back. That was a
Mm-hmm.
classic game.
It was.
But obviously a different era. Back when we thought Deshaun Watson was going to stay with the Texans and they were going to be relevant for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't necessarily happen.
DeAndre Hopkins was still on the team. J.J. Watt still might have even been there as well.
And then Bills-Ravens. Bills-Ravens. That is obviously a huge matchup. They played earlier this season. Didn't go well for the Bills. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, MVP conversation surrounding those players. That is going to be all about that in the national media leading up to it. No fucking doubt.
Yep.
Timothy Swindell. Hey, Ryan, the Commanders still getting lucky. We just end people's seasons. Your Bears, the Bucks, the Falcons. Well, one, do you want to ask me about whether beating the Bears was lucky on a fucking tipped Hail Mary pass? It's literally the definition of luck. But I wouldn't expect anything different from someone who's a fan base of a team that literally bent over and fucked themselves in the ass and cucked themselves with their name. The fucking Washington Commanders. One of the most cool, badass fucking logos in team history. One of the most cool, badass names, the Washington Redskins. That is your team. You bend over and fuck yourselves in the ass because you like the way it feels. The fucking Commanders, the Washington Commies. Congratulations on your fandom, bitch boy. But yes, like certainly there's an element of luck involved. But the last 5 games, the Commanders have won on the last snap of the game, whether it be on a field goal like we saw last night, a field goal that literally doinked in, by the way. Or even whether it's Marcus Mariota on the field against the Dallas Cowboys. They continue to have these last-second victories, and certainly a lot of that is because of how well that they are playing and keeping themselves in these games. But no doubt there's been a couple elements of luck involved, including Baker Mayfield just, I don't know if it's a missed timing on when the wide receiver was coming across, but I think it was supposed to be a fake handoff that hits Baker at the wrong time, and he fumbles, drops the ball, gives them the ball right at the fucking 10-yard line.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's fucking football, and that's how it happens.
Yep.
But let's get to that game from last night. Buccaneers, Commanders. Not as high scoring as I thought this was going to be.
Yeah, me either.
I thought this was going to be somewhere in the range of, 30-23, something like that. I didn't think that 23 would win it. I thought you were going to have to go higher than that to win the game. But the Washington Commanders walk it off on a doinked fucking field goal from like 37 yards. And it looked like Zane Gonzalez, is that the kicker's name? Apparently he's got OCD. He looked like he was having a fucking heart attack before this happened.
Looked like he was high on drugs. Like, couldn't put his helmet on. He had to keep messing with his hair. Yeah, dude, he was skits the fuck out before he went out there to attempt that field goal.
Well, and now that I heard he has OCD, it actually makes a ton of sense. I saw him there fidgeting with his socks, fidgeting with his shoes, going on the field. Like, can you find that clip too?
Let me see.
Find that shit. Here's this. But yeah, 23-20 on a doinked field goal. Before he walks on the field, he's sitting there messing with his hair, about to put his thing on, messing with his hair, put his thing on, messing with his hair. And he absolutely does look like he has like OCD. Yeah, here it is.
6 different kicks.
This is him fixing his hair. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Not quite 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And now that I've heard, and I don't know if it's a confirmed report, but that he has OCD, it actually makes a ton of sense why he has those tics and like what's going on. That totally completely makes 100% sense if that's the case. Because I had never seen a dude that nervous before a kick. And I mean, you can see this thing barely got in. Just everything about this fucking team, man. from getting Cliff Kingsbury to doinking in. I mean, I still have fucking PTSD and nightmares of the Bears double doink.
Cody Parkey.
The double doink where ours did not go in, obviously. This one finds a way to go in. But Baker Mayfield, it felt like he barely threw the ball, had a couple big time runs in the game. I wonder what the time of possession was if we go here. Yeah, I was going to say there's no way they had the ball for very long because it felt like the Buccaneers didn't have the ball very often. The Commanders would go on drives. I felt like they went for it on fourth down 10 times in this game, and about half of them were successful. But they got it done. The fifth straight game where they've won on the last possession of the game. Going all the way back to that Saints game where a failed 2-point conversion that could have won the game for the Saints is not converted. As a result, the Washington Commanders win. But they're moving on. And look, Jaden Daniels, hell of a fucking player. Cliff Kingsbury, 100% was the guy to do it. Dan Quinn needs to be in consideration for Coach of the Year, the way that he turned this culture around in Washington. An experienced guy who has a lot of coaching experience in the NFL, both at the coordinator position and obviously as a head coach. He came in and flipped this organization from the bottom up, exactly what needed to happen to a team like that. And here they are, going to face the Lions in the next round of the playoffs. But what was your take on the game?
Yeah, it was I would have liked to see more explosiveness from the Bucs offense. Yeah, Baker Mayfield only 18 attempts, and they got Mike Evans going early, but yeah, it was just mistakes too, not being able to continue and keep drives going, and then that key fumble at the end of the game on the missed botched handoff or fake handoff, and that's really what put the nail in the coffin for the Bucs. And the Redskins' luck just it's not running out. They keep getting lucky, man, with that doinked field goal in there. I thought this was going to be a much higher scoring game. I obviously thought that the Bucs were going to win the game, but the Redskins just find ways to stay in close games against teams that I think are on paper better than them. But they keep getting it done.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people questioning Todd Bowles right now.
100%.
And I've never been a big Todd Bowles guy. He was the guy that was handed the reins by Bruce Arian, basically. And a lot of people they weren't necessarily expecting that to be the case. But Todd Bowles has had coaching experience in the league. He was coach of the Jets for a while. He gets handed the reins with Tampa. And let's be real. The fact that Tampa won their division after losing Chris Godwin and losing Mike Evans for an extended period of time, I don't know if we saw that coming. Baker had a hell of a season, did lead the league in interceptions, but also threw 40 touchdowns, whatever it was. He had top 5 in completion percentage, top 5 in yards. Baker had a great season.
Yes, he did.
And I don't know if we expected this Tampa Bay team to be I think I probably expected, hey, they're going to challenge them and the Falcons are going to compete for the division. That's what I thought. But I didn't know if we'd be talking about a Tampa team that anybody else would be kind of scared to play, which I felt. That's how I felt. Like you wouldn't want to go down and play them because they kind of never give up. I expected them to win this game. I thought it would be a close game. Washington Commanders are able to get the ball back with about 5 minutes left on the clock, and they just run the clock all the way down with some big third down conversions. Jaden Daniels, little 3-yard run just to get enough, and they kept the clock, ran it all the way down, and kicked that field goal and won the game. After the game, Jaden Daniels, it's like nothing affects him, right? It kicked the game-winning field goal, and he's just sitting there with the same fucking expression, cool as a cucumber. Right. And I love that Jaden Daniels is constantly talking about God and thanking God and all that stuff. Jaden Daniels is going to be really good for the Commanders for a long time to come. But they are moving on to face the Detroit Lions next week. So that's obviously a big matchup. Bucky Irving finally got the start last night, by the way. I've been bitching that White has been the starting guy for this long when it's clear Bucky Irving is their better back. But Bucky Irving's also going to be good for them. For the next couple years. I did love seeing the Mike Evans. What the fuck is the name of the DB?
Patterson. Oh no, yeah, Lattimore. Yes,
Marshawn Lattimore. I loved
Marshawn
seeing that,
Lattimore.
especially early. Evans was cooking him. He was
Yep.
absolutely cooking him early in this game.
Yes, he was.
I love seeing it. That rivalry goes back a long time, back to when Jameis Winston is poking Marshawn Lattimore's ear.
Yep.
That's how far back that goes.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They've
The
had a
one thing
rivalry for a long time.
The one thing I do worry about with Jaden Daniels is, man, he takes some fucking hits. And
Yes.
he is skinny, he is slender, and he takes some bad fucking hits, and he falls weird.
Yeah.
And I
He had a bad hit to the knee last night, and I was worried, and I was worried if he was going to be able to make it back out because it looked bad.
Yeah, it looked like it got hyperextended a little bit. He's lucky it wasn't a lot worse than it was.
Yeah.
I think it was kind of one of those cases where the defensive end like gets around, but is a little off balance, and maybe even a slight shove as he was going by, unintentional, just kind of as they're fighting from the offensive lineman, and he ends up diving into the knee of Jaden Daniels. But that shot on the sideline, which was very bang bang, probably could have been called like a late hit out of bounds, but he just went fucking flying like a Looney Tunes character.
Yes.
So he needs to find a way to continue to utilize what is obviously a huge skill set of his, is running.
Yeah.
Without taking some of these big hits.
He is taking some unnecessary hits and staying in bounds way too long before he just needs to step out to avoid those hits.
100%. Another game we got to talk about. Man, this made me fucking happy. This made me happy. My season was over a long time ago, but we beat the Packers in the last game of the year, and then they get immediately eliminated from the playoffs in what I think is like the best possible way, because it's not even like Philly just stomped the shit out of them. The Packers just played like shit. And you said it on the stream, Jordan Love, you never know, he might be due for an interception. And, you know, he had gone 7 straight games without a pick, which might be the longest we've seen in his career.
Could be.
But he was due. He was due. And he threw up a couple yesterday, 3 interceptions. One of them I do think that probably should not have been negated because of a pass interference. Didn't get called, though. And the Packers hang their heads, tails between their legs as they get ready to meet the Bears in Cancun. And the Philadelphia Eagles are moving on. Jalen Hurts didn't look particularly fucking impressive. Saquon Barkley had a solid game. Could have had a much bigger game if he had taken that last one all the way to the house. Instead, a lot of people not too happy, but Saquon decided he broke open into the second or third level of the defense and slid to basically end the game, where he could have just run the whole thing in for another touchdown, to be honest.
Yeah.
But
yeah, a team play right there. Team play. He even said after the game when they were in the locker room, he could have, ran the whole way for a touchdown, but there's a whole bunch of what ifs. He was saying, what if I break off and I pull a hamstring, or one of my teammates is trying to block for me and they pull a hamstring, or they get injured in some way. So he said the safe play, they just needed a first down so that they can burn out the clock. He takes a slide, and you live to play another week.
Yeah. And Packers certainly dealing with injuries. And, that does happen. It is something that happens. I don't really fucking care, though, because it's the Packers. They can go fuck themselves.
They lost 2 of their wide receivers yesterday, and also their starting center. He got put in an air cast. I haven't seen any updates on that injury for their starting center, but looks like he could have possibly broken his left leg or something.
Yeah. And like I said, the Eagles did not look particularly good. Like, let's look at this Eagles. Let's see if I can find it.
And real quick, before we go after the talk about the Eagles, AJ Brown is such a fucking whiny bitch. He does not believe in this Eagles team. I don't know if he just absolutely hates Jalen Hurts, or a combination of Nick Sirianni and Jalen, but he was throwing a fucking fit on the sideline, reading a book on the sideline because he wasn't getting the targets that he wanted.
So I do think that there's a lot of drama surrounding the A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, the wide receiver situation in Philly. I will also say this. It's not the first time we've seen A.J. Brown do that. And, but, it's not the first time we've seen him read a book on the sidelines. But he's done it before in games where he's had massive games, right? So I can't. I haven't seen it enough to tell. Oh, he does it every fucking game. I can't say that, but I do know he's done it in games before where he's had massive games. So it might just be something he does. It's weird for us to see professional athletes reading books on the sidelines when LeBron James historically fakes, reading books. So I don't know, but we have seen that happen before, specifically with him.
Mm-hmm. And I saw, apparently, I don't know if this was a meme or not, but somebody looked at the title of the book and it was like honing in your self-excellence.
So I wanted, because I think one of the, did Jahan Dotson? I think Jahan Dotson posted a response.
Your inner intelligence, Sundowners Club.
All right, so
or inner excellence, sorry.
So here it is. This is not the first time this has happened. And Jahan Dotson actually responded to looks like Greg Jennings, who was talking about this, because he went on a rant similar to what you're talking about. This is Jahan Dotson's Instagram story.
It is a receiver thing. When you feel involved and you score a touchdown and you get involved early, you're engaged for the duration. But when you're not, you start to mentally check out. And I can understand having some mantras that you go to and revisit in your mind, but to come out with a book, if this is one of my teammates if James Jones or Randall Cobb, Jordy Nelson, if one of these guys pull out a book on the sideline and we playing in a playoff game, I got a problem.
Now, the whole premise was, if AJ Brown had 10 catches for $125 and 2 touchdowns, do you still think he's reading the book on the sidelines, right? And then this is Jahan Dotson showing, this is obviously not the same game. This is a completely different game where he's sitting there reading a book, and they show what his stat line was in that game: 8 receptions, 100 yards, a touchdown. So I think this is clearly something that it's not the first time he's done it. I don't know if it's just because he was frustrated or whatever, if it is just something he does. It did seem weird, and I had never fucking seen it before personally. But obviously it's something that he does on occasion. So it's tough to, I don't fucking know, man. Mark Sanchez ate a hot dog on the sideline.
That's true. This is true.
But yeah, if it is something that he's like, if he's going over it, reading it, help him focus. But two things can be true. I 100% believe that AJ Brown does not like having Jalen Hurts in this offense. I think two things can be true at the same time. And why wouldn't he? I just think that Jalen Hurts is super limited. That offensive line is fucking incredible. They've got a really solid defense. And they don't need to throw the ball around the park. AJ Brown probably wants to have the ball thrown around a little bit more. And probably gets frustrated at times, especially when Tanner McKee comes in and looks like a more effective thrower of the football than your $60 million man or $55 million man, Jalen Hurts. Another $55 or $60 million man is Jordan Love. And a lot of people not happy with Jordan Love. This is the overreaction time of the year, right? When guys that have played full seasons doing this, you get the playoffs, you have one bad game, you have one great game, whatever. People are going to overreact because that's the last thing we're left with. The last memory we're left with is, Jordan Love throwing 3 picks in a playoff loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. And I get it. Fuck Jordan Love. Fuck the Packers. But it just is what it is.
Yeah.
They also kind of got screwed with that fumble early in the game. And man, obviously it was a big hit and a fumble on the opening kickoff, but it sure as shit looked like the guy got it back. I don't know if you could prove he fully had control. That he, at the bottom of that pile, he had control initially. Things change under the pile, though.
Right.
It happens. Game on for 4 months. Feels like the Patriots won the Super Bowl. Does it really? Getting Mike Vrabel feels like he won the Super Bowl.
I do think he was the best coach out there.
I think he's the right guy.
100% he's the right guy.
Proven commodity. We talk about it's like Mike Vrabel, proven winner and stuff. It's like, well, like he did well in Tennessee. You know, they had some solid. He wasn't able to get the offense where it needed to be. And obviously you can talk about limitations with management and ownership and things like that. No excuse now. You know the fucking owner. You know the fucking owner very well. But I think that Mike Vrabel is going to do a good job there.
I do too.
I don't know if it feels like you won the Super Bowl. Garth Knight for 5. That Ravens at Bills game is going to be hot as a Joy Taylor lunch date with Molly Karam. I mean, obviously, just all of the surrounding stories that have gone into making that matchup happen. That's what it's all about. And, you know, speaking of that game, I honestly thought the Bills were going to struggle a little more than they did in this game. I thought that the Broncos were going to give them more of a problem than they did. And man, that first Broncos possession, boom, boom, 50-yard touchdown pass, whatever it was. And you're thinking, oh man, here comes Bo Nix and this Broncos team. That was all she wrote. That was all she wrote for the Broncos. They got one touchdown, and after that, it was all Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen. And, Josh Allen had a solid game. This is the play I think that so many people are going to remember. This is a 4th and 1, by the way. They need 1 yard. This is what ends up happening. Almost went, thought about it, can't really find it. Somebody get open. Just chucks it kind of off balance, a little bit back foot, a little bit sidearm sling to the back of the end zone, just out of reach of the DB. Weird sliding catch that, god damn, it looks like he was almost out of bounds. Like, if that gets called incomplete, there's no way they overturn it.
Correct.
Like, there's no way they overturn it. Like, a knee does count as 2 feet. Knee in bounds does count as 2 feet. But man, when does he have possession? Is it before this foot comes down out of bounds? That's the question. But still, what a hell of a play.
Hell of a play. And you're right. If this is incomplete, it stays incomplete. But since it was called on the field, it's going to be tough to overturn that. I still question if he had full possession before his foot hit the out of bounds in the back of the end zone. But
and maybe if we don't have this fuck standing here and this thing here, maybe it's a different story then.
Yeah.
You know? Also,
this is the best angle right here, but still not very clear on the possession before that foot hits out of bounds right there. It's very awkward.
Maybe if he was wearing black shoes instead of white shoes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you can see it, because you can definitely see it, like, 100% that when it like hits like right there, that's the moment we know. Is that ball secure? No. What about right here? Is his heel on the ground? Is that ball secure?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's tough, and man. It's a coin toss.
The ball can obviously move and you still have control, but it's a tough one. Either way, hell of a fucking play from Josh Allen.
Mm-hmm.
They really dominated this game after that opening possession from the Denver Broncos. The Broncos, I think maybe twice. Did they go for fake punts twice in this game?
I saw one for sure that they converted and then quickly had to punt again after that.
Riley Dixon was they went for a fake punt very early on in the game.
Very early in the game. And then everyone's talking about, remember Sean Payton in that Super Bowl halftime onside kick.
Onside kick in the Super Bowl. Yeah, I remember.
They just stole a possession right there. That's Sean Payton at his best, stealing a possession, and then 3 plays later they have to punt.
Yeah. But with all that being said, I think the Broncos have to feel very good about their season. Like as a whole, despite an early exit to the Buffalo Bills, they have to feel very good about the season. Sean Payton's offense really came into form this year with Bo Nix. And I think Bo Nix had some ups and downs, but overall, they got a good future there.
And either you told me or I heard on the broadcast that Bo Nix to Troy Franklin touchdown is the first rookie quarterback to rookie wide receiver touchdown connection in the playoff history ever? Either you told me that or I heard it on the broadcast.
I didn't say that. That's kind of crazy. I guess it's not really a surprise, because, rookies, the chance of rookies making playoff games in their first one, not necessarily the best. We've got two of them that are in it now, obviously, Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels, but then also having like the other irony of like being connected to a rookie. I can get how doesn't happen often, but for it to be the first time, it's kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
For that to be the first one ever, that is kind of wild.
Yep.
But yeah, man, the Bills look amped the fuck up.
Oh yeah.
They look ready to roll. Alex McCarthy, my Packers lost. Ryan, fuck the Packers. Me, fuck the Bears. Yeah, pretty much. Sorry, Alex. That's how it goes. Mike Hill for 5. Cowboys couldn't come to an agreement, so they got rid of Mike McCarthy. We're going to talk about that. Lord Botham for $1.99. Hiring Mike McCarthy would be the most Bears move ever. Yes.
There's a lot of rumors right now.
It absolutely would. And, yeah. Would it be the worst thing in the world? Certainly not. There's worse Bears hires. But yes, this is a big story that is going around today. We didn't know what the status would be for Mike McCarthy and the Dallas Cowboys. It seemed like they wanted to bring him back when they were refusing to let people interview him over the past week or so. For people that potentially wanted to bring them in, the Bears requested to interview Mike McCarthy. The Cowboys said no, as they were still in contract negotiations, but they could not come to an agreement. So officially, Mike McCarthy's gone. He's gone from the Cowboys. It's tough to say that he's fired because the contract elapsed and they couldn't come to an agreement, but effectively that's what's happening. Mike McCarthy no longer with the Dallas Cowboys after 5 years, and he can go anywhere he wants. As of right now, the Bears have already requested an interview. I think the Saints potentially might be interested in Mike McCarthy as well. And, you saw this as much as I did. There was a report immediately that came out when this happened. Well, Bill Belichick wouldn't have signed with North Carolina if he knew that the Cowboys job would be open. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I saw that right away, that if Belichick knew, he wouldn't have signed with North Carolina. Here's the thing. I think there's a lot of deranged Cowboys fans that think that Bill Belichick would have liked to go there. I don't think that the personalities between Bill Belichick and Jerry Jones would match very well. Jerry Jones loves to be in charge. Jerry Jones wants all of the attention. Bill Belichick is his own GM and head coach. Jerry Jones and his son are the GMs, and they always have been, of the Cowboys for quite a long time now. So I don't think that is this match made in heaven that these deranged Cowboys fans think that it would be. But we'll see. I've seen reports that Bill Belichick's buyout of North Carolina is around $10 million if he wants to jump ship and go to Dallas. And, we were talking about it before the show started. Bill Belichick, he's done it before when he agreed to be the head coach of the New York Jets, had a press conference and everything, and like 2 days later said, you know what, never mind, I'm going to be the head coach of the Patriots after Parcells left. So it's interesting. It's interesting to think. I don't think that Bill Belichick is going to the Cowboys. I really don't.
I think he's staying in North Carolina for a few years.
I do too. Yep.
And quite frankly, it makes more sense. So, his girlfriend can be around people her age, like that. That makes sense why he wants to settle down in a college town, things like that. But yeah, it's an interesting question because now the Cowboys also have an opening, right? That definitely throws things into flux between the people that are still available, right? Ben Johnson obviously is the idol that everyone's going for right now. He is the thing that everybody wants a part of. Specifically, it seemed like it was down to the Raiders and the Bears. Kind of fucked up that partial owner Tom Brady gets to spend a week with Ben Johnson and the Detroit Lions in the lead up to them having the next game. But I digress. The Raiders and the Bears seem like they were it. Did the Cowboys make a run at a guy like Ben Johnson? Is Ben Johnson interested in going to a team like the Cowboys? What about, it seems like Pittsburgh is not firing Mike Tomlin, but that has also been a topic of discussion about Mike Tomlin. A lot of people feel like it's time for a change, regardless of if you never had a losing season. They need something. They're stagnant. They need something to change in Pittsburgh. Fuck, what if Mike Tomlin goes to fucking Detroit and Mike McCarthy goes to Pittsburgh? Who knows? But definitely with another opening, it does throw things into flux. And you wonder where exactly Mike McCarthy is going to end up. Does he want to just take a break for a year, or is he interested? I don't want Mike McCarthy as the head coach for the Chicago Bears necessarily. But if the Bears don't get Ben Johnson, which is seemingly what they want to, and has its risks inherently involved with it, I think Mike McCarthy would be a fine hire, certainly better than, random defensive coordinator number 3 from the Miami Dolphins, which would be a very typical Bears hire. But yeah, it leaves a lot of uncertainty now in this desire people have to fill these spots, especially one of the guys might be playing or might be involved with the team, might be coaching a team for quite a while with Ben Johnson. That might determine where all the other pieces fall. And he might not be ready to sign with a team for another couple months. So who knows?
It'd be such a Cowboys thing to do, to bring back Kellen Moore, who was an offensive coordinator for the Cowboys under the Mike McCarthy era, to go ahead and snag him from Philly, because Kellen Moore, he played for the Cowboys and he was the offensive coordinator for the Cowboys for a while. Now he's been bouncing around from San Diego to Philly now. But it'd be such a fucking Jerry Jones Cowboys thing to do, to go after Kellen Moore and bring him back to be their head coach.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Was he offensive coordinator when Jason Garrett was there?
I think it was McCarthy. Maybe it was Jason. It could have been both, because he was the quarterback's coach for a while, and then he was offensive coordinator. And he was the offensive coordinator there for a while. And then he spent a year in LA with the Chargers, or maybe 1 or 2 years with LA. And now this is his first year in Philly.
He was there for both. He was there for both. Yeah.
Yeah.
Quentin Edwards, Ryan, thoughts on Bears wanting Notre Dame coach Marcus Freeman? I think that, Marcus Freeman has had 2 seasons as a head coach in Notre Dame. Obviously, like I said before, fuck Notre Dame. Bunch of cocksucking motherfuckers there. Fuck Notre Dame, the entire fucking establishment. I wish a nuke got dropped on Notre Dame. Fuck the students, everybody, whatever. But with that being said, obviously very impressive what he's done there to make it where they are, the college football national championship game. I'm not surprised that people are talking to Marcus Freeman, but you also have to think about Chicago Bears. It's not like they're only interviewing 4 or 5 people. They're interviewing like 20. So, which is way too many, just for the record. Like, it's fucking way too many people that you're interviewing. You're making it more complicated than it has to fucking be. But I can definitely see and understand why they're interested. A guy who's right there right now in the area, knows the area, turned around a team's culture. I get the interest, but I don't know how serious the interest actually is. Ryan Manti-Te'o's girlfriend said, watch your mouth. Manti-Te'o's fake girlfriend is now a fat transgender freak. So I don't care what Manti-Te'o's girlfriend has to say. I don't care what Manti-Te'o's girlfriend has to say.
What about Joe Brady?
I don't know. I don't know what to feel about that offense, because at sometimes when you're watching it, just feels like, man, it's fucking Josh Allen making plays. But I don't think he's seriously in consideration for that. I think maybe he does get that feeling, like he gets a little bit downgraded. Ben Johnson in Detroit, people like, wow, look at what he was able to do with Jared Goff. Whereas Joe Brady, it's like, well, yeah, look, he's got fucking Josh Allen making all these plays for him. That feels like almost like the narrative.
Right.
I think Aaron Glenn is going to make a fantastic head coach, the defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. Obviously a guy who's been around the league a lot. He's put in the fucking work as a scout, as all of these things. The times that I've heard him, the interviews I've heard him in, I think he's going to make a great fucking head coach. But I don't think he's the head coach for the Bears.
Okay.
The Bears desperately need to. They desperately need to bring in somebody who has an offensive plan, you know? And whether you achieve that through Ben Johnson and what he's going to be able to do, or whether you achieve that through somebody else that has a plan to bring in a certain coordinator. And they completely fucked up last year by not hiring Cliff Kingsbury, you know, Caleb's offensive coordinator in college, right? They completely fucked up by not hiring Cliff Kingsbury when it would have been a match made in heaven. You see what's going on in Washington. Makes a lot of sense that Cliff Kingsbury is there. And you hired Shane Waldron, and his system makes absolutely zero sense for the pieces that you have, and especially with especially with a quarterback who's a rookie. Doesn't make any sense. So I don't trust the Bears management at all. They're going to find a way to fuck this up. It's going to be awful. So I'm just ready for it. I'm ready for another terrible coaching hire.
What free agent coaching candidate do you absolutely do not want for the Bears?
I don't want what's his nuts from Minnesota, who was a head coach in Miami.
Flores?
I don't want Brian Flores. I think he needs to be in the doghouse a little bit longer after everything that went down in Miami. Don't want Brian Flores. Great fucking coordinator. I'd love to have him on the staff as a coordinator. Let me find the Chicago Bears list of coaching candidates. List of coaching candidates. I don't want Thomas Brown. Don't want Thomas Brown. He doesn't deserve to he doesn't deserve to be the head coach. I think that he's a great dude and might potentially be a great coordinator at some point in time, but he was passing game coordinator. They got promoted offensive coordinator, and then 6 days later was the head coach of the team. He's not ready for that. It was 100% a token interview, you know? And that's fine. He deserved the right to interview after leading the team for a couple weeks. But yeah, I heard Ron Rivera in the mix. I don't want Ron Rivera.
Ron Rivera's a fucking bitch. He is a fucking bitch. I cannot fucking stand Ron Rivera. And I understand he's a veteran. That's great. That's awesome for him. Ron Rivera, when he was with the Redskins, what an absolute fucking retarded fucking cuck he was. Bragging about, oh, well, the Redskins, the football team, we were the first team that's fully vaccinated. Aaron Rodgers shouldn't be able to touch the field until he's vaccinated. Fuck you, Ron Rivera. I understand you're a cancer survivor. Give yourself a pat on the back. You are one of the biggest fucking pussy head coaches for fucking forcing everybody in your fucking locker room to get fucking boosted up and to fucking get the jab and fucking brag about it. Fuck you.
God, the Bears just as of fucking 9 minutes ago, put in a request to interview Green Bay offensive coordinator as well. Like I'm not even lying. They're interviewing like 20 people.
What about Saleh?
Robert Saleh, man, give him my defensive coordinator, Robert Saleh. I would love that. Bring in Robert Saleh as defensive fucking coordinator. Let's fucking go, bros. But I don't know about head coach. You know, there's John Gruden. Listen, I love John Gruden. Okay, I love John Gruden. I would love for John Gruden to be the coach of the Chicago Bears. John Gruden follows me on Twitter for some random reason. Don't know why. Shout out John Gruden.
Shout out.
But look, I don't think John Gruden wants to coach again. I think he's very happy doing what he's doing.
He's got a good gig with Barstool right now.
They got driven out the way that he did with that bullshit, the internal emails that got leaked, and everybody make a big mess. It's fucking nothing. It's no big fucking deal. It's nothing. And I would love for John Gruden to be the head coach of my football team, but I think he's fine doing what he's doing, man. I think he's perfectly happy doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he's got a good gig. I don't know unless it's the perfect scenario. I don't think he's leaving Barstool. I saw somebody in the chat say fire Todd Bowles and bring John Gruden back to the Bucks. Man, dude, he did that with the Raiders after the Raiders done him so wrong in the early 2000s and traded him away to the Bucks and then beat the Raiders in the Super Bowl and then got done dirty by the Raiders and the league, and then to go back and coach the Bucks again. It'd be awesome. It'd be awesome. I'm sure that he's a better fit for Tampa than Todd Bowles. And I think he's a fan of Baker, but I think John Gruden's happy where he's at.
Yeah, and I don't even know if he's still involved in lawsuits against the NFL or not. Like, so that brings on like a whole different thing. And it's kind of the same way Brian Flores does. I think that fucking bitch ass pussy still has a fucking lawsuit going. Who knows? But I would love for John Gruden to be the head coach. I just don't think it's happening. Like, I don't think there's any chance. I don't think he wants to. I think he's cool doing what he's doing right now. But let's see. Hate McCarthy too, but he'll get 10 wins consistently. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, if the Bears hired Mike McCarthy, I'd kind of be like, all right. You know, I wouldn't hate it. I would just be like, all right. Like, obviously, a guy who's won a Super Bowl, a guy who's had, you know, led multiple teams to playoffs, stuff like that. Experienced head coach. That's a solid choice. But man, Ben Johnson is a risk. He absolutely is. He's the hottest thing out there right now, but he is a risk because we just don't know. We've never seen it.
No head coaching experience.
You know, is this guy going to be Sean McVay, Kevin O'Connell? Obviously, Matt LaFleur getting a lot of criticism right now, but still, right, one of these young offensive dudes who takes over and changes a team for the better. I fucking hope so. If he's my coach. If not, I fucking hope he fails anywhere else he goes. Hope he fucking splatters and just completely fails. But I don't know, man. It's gonna be tough. We do have a big game tonight. Speaking of Sean McVay. Speaking of Sean McVay, we got a big game tonight. Let me see if I can pull that up. Between the Minnesota Vikings, the 14-win Minnesota Vikings, who are favored by 2.5 against the quote-unquote home team, Los Angeles Rams. This game is going to Arizona because of the wildfires in LA, so it's not really going to be and we also know that LA, since the Rams moved back there and certainly with the Chargers, not necessarily the best home field advantage at times. There are way more Rams fans than there are Chargers fans. I'll say that up front because the Rams were in LA for a really long time before they left for St. Louis and came back. So there's a little more history there. They actually own that stadium instead of renting it like the Chargers do. But still, it not being at home, big advantage towards this neutral field scenario for the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota Vikings did not look great in that last game against the Detroit Lions. I picked an upset a week ago when this matchup was announced in the Los Angeles Rams. With all these things happening, I think it makes it a lot less likely, but I'm not changing my pick. I'll stay with the Rams. I think the Minnesota Vikings are a hell of a team. But I think the Rams have a little bit more experience. Matthew Stafford there at quarterback rather than Sam Darnold, who has played better than anyone could have possibly imagined this year from Sam Darnold. I'm going to take the experience, the playoff experience of Sean McVay with the Rams and Matthew Stafford with the Rams, and I think they're going to upset the Vikings.
Yeah, I picked the Vikings earlier this week, so I feel like I have to stick with it. While at the time I didn't realize this was a prime time game, and the last game that the Vikings played was prime time in Detroit. Sam Darnold looked like the Sam Darnold of old, was seeing ghosts out there. The offense looked absolutely horrible last week, but maybe that's just Detroit's defense, or Detroit is just that good. But I trust Sam Darnold a lot more during like a 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock slate in prime time when it's the only game that's on. Makes me a little nervous. Makes me a little nervous for the Vikings because you do have a lot of experience over there in Los Angeles with McVay and with Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp and just that entire team, man. You got a lot of playoff experience, Super Bowl experience, and Sean McVay is one of the top 10, if not top 5 coaches in the league. But Kevin O'Connell's, he's great too. He's great too. And the Vikings have a lot of talent, man. I think this is going to make for hopefully a really good game. I'm gonna pick the Vikings, but I'm not thrilled about it.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if the Rams can get pressure on Darnold. If not, it might be a long day for that defense. But I hope we do get a good game out of it, though, 100%. Because really, we only had one good game of these first rounds, and that was the Rams Commanders game. All the rest of them didn't really feel like
Bucks Commanders.
Yeah, sorry, Bucks Commanders. The other ones didn't really feel like super competitive games. Texans Chargers was fucking a joke.
Chargers, Baltimore,
Ravens,
Pittsburgh.
Steelers was a joke. Obviously, the Bills blew the fuck out of the Broncos, and even though the Eagles didn't blow out the Packers, it never looked pretty. It really never felt like the Packers were in that game after that opening turnover. So hopefully we just get
Josh Jacobs had himself a hell of a run yesterday that led up to a touchdown, but you just seen so many Packers players go down and get injured and stuff, and it's like even if they did win, they weren't going to make it past the next round just because they were so fucking beat up. For this game, if Minnesota loses and they have an early exit in the playoffs, does that raise the questions for the starting quarterback for the Vikings next year? If they're going to move past Sam Darnold and go with JJ McCarthy, if they have an early exit?
I don't know, man. I feel like this playoff run shouldn't matter for that decision. I feel like we've seen enough in the regular season for them to make whatever decision they're going to make there. But obviously, Sam Darnold can put even more pressure on him if he goes on a deep playoff run. That's the reality. If they lose, does that mean Sam Darnold, they wave bye-bye and just stick with JJ? I don't think that's the case. But he can do a lot to solidify that they need to keep him with what happens here. I wouldn't, it's a good problem to have. There's teams out there that don't have any fucking quarterbacks, okay? So it's a good problem to have, but also a very complex and complicated one with a lot of pressure and stress involved in what you do. Because if you let Sam Darnold walk and he strolls into another place for, $30 million a year, 2-year deal, $30 million per, and he has a lot of success, and then you have a young JJ McCarthy coming off injury and struggles, everyone's going to be blaming you for fucking that up for a very long time. Same thing goes on the other side. You trade JJ away and stick with Sam, and he reverts a little bit or takes a step back. So it is a very important decision. I would not want to be making that decision.
Yeah, I think you got to keep both of them. But even if you keep both of them, and then they start JJ next year and have Sam Darnold on the bench, and then now you have your, essentially what would be his rookie year. And then if you get off to a slow start after all the success that you had this year, are you going to, pull the plug on your young quarterback that you're trying to develop and go Sam Darnold because you guys know that you are built to win right now? That's another problem that they're going to have, because sometimes you have two quarterbacks, you got no quarterback. So Kevin O'Connell, they're going to be in a very interesting situation this offseason.
Let's see. Hold on. The first fumble in the Eagles game clearly wasn't a fumble. It was the most obvious fumble of any fumble that's ever happened. Now, if you want to ask about the recovery, that's a different story, Charles Barkley. But it was the most obvious fumble that we've ever seen in history. But back to this, the Sam Darnold thing. Sam Darnold has had a fucking amazing year. This is very similar to, it feels like his resurgence and Baker's resurgence, kind of similar, right? Bouncing around a little bit, gets cut from this team, cut from that team, gets a little experience, finds a place with the right coach around him that believes him and he gets a chance, and boom. I think everybody really loves Sam Darnold there. And you could keep them both. If you can sign Sam Darnold for a Baker-like contract for $30 million for a couple years or whatever, maybe 1 year with an option for a second year, you keep him there, you keep JJ, and you're still not paying what, the Packers are paying Jordan Love for one quarterback. So you could do that, and maybe they do put off that thought for a little longer. But Sam Darnold's going to want to play. After this year, he's going to want to play.
Yep.
So if the Vikings aren't planning on playing him, he's going to go somewhere else and play, get paid.
Yeah, he'll get paid, but I just feel like for Darnold, this is the perfect situation for him. He's got weapons. He's got a smart, offensive-minded head coach. Just the perfect situation. If he goes somewhere and gets paid, who knows? It could be another Nick Foles situation.
But yes, Charles Ryan hates the Packers. I do fucking hate the Packers. Fuck the Packers. But if you had actually listened, maybe you weren't here in the stream earlier. If you would actually listen, I specifically fucking addressed that play in question. Your comment was dumb because you said it wasn't a fumble. It was the most obvious fumble that we've ever seen in history. It fucking popped out, shot out of there like a fucking rocket. But even I said it felt like to me that it looked like that the Packers guy had it. The Packers guy clearly had it first under that pile. It got ripped away from him somehow. Whether you could overturn it, whether technically there was enough evidence to overturn that he completely and totally had it, I think you could argue that they probably missed that call. I said all of this earlier, even though I do hate the Packers. If you'd fucking listen to me. Charles. Jay Payne spotter. I hope the Bears pick the worst coach possible to piss off Ryan, and that's what Chicago deserves under Mayor Brandon Johnson. Thanks, Jay Payne spotter, with your dumbass fucking Asian shit. Fuck you, but thank you. That's probably what's going to happen. Like, let's just be real. We shall see. We'll see what goes down. But that's about it. We obviously don't know all of the games next week. We talk about AFC. Chiefs, Texans. Who you got in that game next week?
I got the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are going to go back to the AFC Championship game and hopefully play Buffalo.
I got the Chiefs as well. And then in that second game, look, I think it's going to be very tough for the Bills to win. I think that the Ravens have, I think they've got a great fucking defense. I think they've got a great fucking offensive line. They got one of the best backs in the league, and they got Lamar Jackson. But you know what? I believe in Josh Allen, and we're going to make this a racially based debate, right? He deserves the MVP after Lamar got handed the MVP last year for that bullshit. I think Lamar's going to have that on his mind fucking constantly. I think it's going to get on his nerves. I think it's going to pressure him. I think Josh Allen's going to thrive under the pressure. All the mainstream media tell him to give it to him because he's black, and you hate him because he's black. And Josh Allen's going to say it's a white man's turn again. And Josh Allen's going to come out there and he's going to stomp on the Baltimore Ravens, going to snap their neck. He's going to cook them. He's going to eat them. I got the Bills against the Ravens, which probably means they're going to get blown out, but I got the Bills.
I got the Bills too.
Good.
I got the Bills.
And then Lions Commanders. I don't think the Commanders are going to make it easy on the Lions, but I'm picking the Lions. I can't pick against the Lions after everything we've seen from them this year. I got the Lions in that game. The second game, we don't know yet. It's going to be Eagles versus either Rams or Vikings, so can't really pick that yet. Yeah,
Lions, Redskins. I think that the Redskins are going to keep it close in the first half against the Lions, but I think the Lions will come out in the second half and take it to the Redskins. And that's where I think that you'll see the score start to separate. So give me the Lions against the Redskins. And for tonight, I don't know. We'll see. We'll have to see. Because I wasn't at all impressed with the way that the Eagles played yesterday. So we'll have to see.
The Eagles aren't very, it's like, I feel like I've been saying it for 3 fucking years. Like the Eagles are go to a Super Bowl. Last year didn't end well for them, obviously, but again, they're the number 2 seed. And I'm constantly, the Eagles really aren't that fucking good, but it's hard to watch them and feel like Saquon has been a revelation for them this year, right? If they didn't have Saquon, that offensive line is really fucking good. I mean, obviously, we saw DeAndre Swift put up 5 yards of carry last year, whatever it was with that offensive line. But what Saquon's doing is historic, and it's a game changer. With that being said, Jalen Hurts is limited as fuck. He just is. And I wouldn't be scared of the Eagles. I just wouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
With that offensive line, that defense, you don't want to play it, but I don't mind going up against Jalen Hurts at quarterback. I just don't. A Money Wilson, fuck the Packers and overpay for Jordan Love. They paid a lot for Jordan Love. Let's see. Cole Hauser for 2. I'm with you, Ryan. Everything is going to be all white. Thank you, Cole. Danielson for 5. Of course, Bears get the wrong motherfucking quarterback. If you was just going to draft Caleb over Daniel, should have kept Fields. I mean, that's fine. There's a lot of retarded people out there. There's a lot of retarded sports fans, and I get it. If Jaden Daniels had been drafted by the Bears, there would be no difference in the Bears season, other than there would have been a couple more interceptions and some more rushing yards. That would be the only difference if the Bears had drafted Jaden Daniels under the current structure that they had in Chicago. And if you think differently, then I really can't tell you anything else other than you're a retard. I think Jaden Daniels is going to be awesome for a really long time in this league. But no, anybody at number 1 would have picked Caleb Williams, including the Commanders, even though they lied to say this is our guy. What they did was they did the right thing. They got their fucking coach out of there, brought Dan Quinn, who had a culture that he brought with him, and they got the right offensive coordinator for the skill set that Jaden Daniels has, which is Cliff Kingsbury. And it was a great decision by them. They've turned it around. They deserve all the credit in the world. But you're really silly if you think that Jaden Daniels would have gone to the Bears and it would have been different this year. And that's okay. You have your right to be retarded. That's perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with that. Always have, always will. But what else we got? When does that game start? About an hour from now. Mm-hmm. So that's our picks for the game. And that's about it. Got anything else going on tonight, Beardo?
No, that's pretty much it. Gonna watch football. I'm gonna see about the wrestling stream tonight if we're still doing it. So we'll see. That'll be over on locals if we do it. But I'm gonna be keeping an eye on the game, the Vikings-Rams game as well.
There you go.
Yep.
Chris Coran, I hope the Bears package I sent makes you smile. You sent one to me?
I have it.
You have it. Okay.
Well, I think I have it. I'm going to have to give it to you around MegaCon time.
All right. I'll have to get it. All right, guys. Thank you very much. That's it for us. We will talk to all of you later. Bye, everybody.